Hey, good Monday morning. Yeah, Monday morning. I'm coming to you from the sanctuary of St. Luke's United Methodist Church. There's the cross back there. And today I want to talk about qualifications. What qualifies you and me to speak on behalf of God? I mean, think about that. And in the Bible, we're told of story after story after story of men and women of great faith who did big things for God. But when we get down to the nitty-gritty of their story, they're just like you and me. For example, Moses. Yeah, he led the people out of slavery. He led them to the promised land. He himself wasn't able to go to the promised land, but he saw the promised land. And when you read about Moses, you think about how he was a prayer warrior. When people needed water or needed food, he would go to God and pray. When there was a problem within the camp, he would go to God in prayer. But when God called Moses in the very beginning, Moses had an excuse as to why he should not be the one to speak on behalf of God. In Exodus chapter 6, verse 29, God said to Moses, "I am God. Tell Pharaoh, king of Egypt, everything I say to you. You tell Pharaoh, king of Egypt, everything I say to you." Now Moses was born a Hebrew, but yet he was raised in the house of Pharaoh. And that is so important to remember because he knows Pharaoh. He knows Pharaoh's household. He knows Pharaoh's way of thinking. He knows his temperament. He knows so much about Pharaoh that Moses is truly qualified to do what God called him to do. But instead of thinking about all of his qualifications, Moses looks at the insecure side of himself. And what does he say in Exodus chapter 6, verse 30? "Look at me, I stutter. Why would Pharaoh listen to me? I stutter." And we do the same thing when we feel like God is calling us to do something. The first thing we do is we listen to the voices in our head. Maybe it was a voice of somebody in a church years ago who said, "Well, you're not good enough, or you're not called, or you're not holy enough, or you don't pray enough, or you don't know Scripture well enough, or you can't do this, or you can't do that, or you're not good enough." Maybe we listen to that voice in our head that tells us that we're not good enough, that we can't do it. Just like Moses, whenever God says, "I am God, tell Pharaoh, king of Egypt, everything I say to you." And Moses is like, "Oh man, look at me, I stutter. Why would Pharaoh listen to me?" And we know the story of Moses. He does listen to God. He does speak to Pharaoh. God sends his brother Aaron with him to be the speaker. But it's Moses who listens to God. It's Moses who follows God. He doesn't listen to his doubts. He doesn't listen to the voices in his head. He follows God. And I think like Moses, a lot of us, we find ourselves stuck between our own insecurities and that call from God. And I think God is calling a lot of us today to stand up, to speak up, to pray, to be the good news, to be that beacon of light in the world that seems so dark. And I hope and pray that whatever God is calling you to do, listen, pray, follow him. And let's see what good we can do, not only today, but this week and throughout the weeks to come. Don't be like Moses and say, "Look at me, I stutter, I can't do it." Instead, step out in faith, not in fear. And let's see what God can do with all of us. This is Pastor Bill from St. Luke's United Methodist Church. See the cross? Yeah, I hope and pray that wherever you are, you're happy, you're healthy, and you're safe. Have a great day, everyone, and God bless.